Hi, this is Jason from Effective Maintenance Dashboards and welcome back to another video. This video is going to be a slightly longer video than usual, and it's going to be one of a series of case study videos that I'm going to create. So it'll be slightly longer, almost like a mini project, and this one is going to be looking at creating a work order risk matrix. So we're going to use an add-in, or not an add-in, a custom visual called Synoptic Visual, and we're going to use this to create a risk matrix. And let's start off by looking at the business process overview. So just to frame up this project or this case study, we've got when an item of equipment develops a fault, it will either have an immediate impact on a plant, in which case it's probably going to be an emergency work order, and it will impact the plant immediately. Or it will have a probability of a future impact. So you've maybe got a system where you've got a duty and a standby pump, and the standby pump is now functioning because the duty pump has got a failure or a fault on it. So each one of these, so the emergency work orders will be ranked as well, but probably quite immediate kind of ranking there. An impact on the plant, and probably get after it quite quickly. The other work orders will be prioritized based on the risk, and that risk will then be based on the likelihood that it's going to fail or get worse, or there'll be an impact because it's not available, a piece of equipment, and the severity. So how much of an impact is it going to have on the key aspects, which are typically people, environment, production, and cost, and also potentially reputation. So that's the business process overview. So the business requirements. So the site management would like to gain an improved understanding of the spread of risk related to the defective and broken equipment. So they want to be able to look at one view and understand what is the spread of risk here. Have we got a lot of potentially high impact and high probability failures that could start to cause us some production losses or some safety incidents in the near future? Or do we have quite a lot of work in the system which is low impact and unlikely to impact the key aspects which are mentioned before: people, environment, production, and cost. Now this is a changing picture, so as new defects come into the plant, then it may impact the priority and the severity of existing defects. So if you've got things that are getting worse, and also if you start to close off some defects, it may impact the other ones as well and make them less likely to be causing an impact. So it is a changing picture, but that can get handled on the underlying CMMS. This report is just really to give us a picture of what the current status is in terms of our risk profile. So the requirements here is to create a dashboard that will display this on all open work orders and how many work orders there are in each of the zones of the risk matrix. So just to show you what this would look like, a typical risk matrix here. Now there's plenty of different risk matrices that people can use. This one here is a 5x5, and the number here is the multiplication really of the consequence severity and the vulnerability or the likelihood of failure. And it's quite good because as you start to increase in severity and increase in likelihood, there's a proportionate increase in the actual number here. So as 25 is the top priority, and it's significantly bigger than a 12 or a 10, or well, isn't it? I don't think it's, oh yeah, 10, because the impact starts to get higher and the likelihood starts to get higher. There is also the potential to break these into sort of 3 groupings. Sometimes there's 4 or 5. It just depends on how you want to break up your risk groupings. And these could also be added into Power BI as fields. I've not done it in this example here. I'll maybe come back and add it later. But for just now, what we're going to do is we are going to overlay the number of work orders that are currently open that sit in each one of these zones here. Okay. And we're going to go and do that using Power BI. So Okay, so to kick off with, what we're going to do is we're going to start with the existing dashboard that we've created. And if you've gone through my free course, which is at effectivemaintenancedashboards.com, it talks you through how to create this this dashboard. So we're going to build on this because we've already got the data model in place, and we've already got sort of the foundations of the work order information that we need. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go and add in some measures and some calculated columns. So if we go to the data model here, and we can see we've got a few bits and pieces in here. We've got a lot of conditional formatting, so that is how we've got these colours here. Again, there's a video on how to create this at Effective Maintenance Dashboards. Shameless plug once again, but it's all useful stuff. So if we go into this, this here, so we've split the work order data here into static data, so that's information that doesn't change once it's been entered into work order, and a variable date. So when we look at likelihood and severity, what we've got in our current work order is, we scroll along here, right, so the data is incomplete. So if we've got PMs, they don't have a likelihood and a severity because nothing's actually happened. So we are going to go and just filter there so you can see it. So we've got three things. We've got a consequence category, which is either people, environment, asset, or reputation. Asset is really production. And we've got a severity, which is really the concatenation of, or it's a number which is the consequence category and the severity from 1 to 5. And then we've got a likelihood. So what we need to do is we need to isolate this severity code here, because ultimately we need a new field that has got coordinates. So this one here is a 1 severity and a 1 likelihood. So if I go back to the PowerPoint here, 1 severity would bring us along, would bring us up to this one, this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 would bring us here, and 1 likelihood would bring us here. So we want to be able to plot that particular work order into this square here when we come to adding this into the visualization. If we've got a 4 severity, it's going to bring us up 1, 2, 3, 4, and a 2 likelihood. It's going to be 1, 2. We're going to want to plot it in here. So we need a field that we can use to kind of against each work order, so we can plot that work order in here. So to do that, we are going to go back into here and we're going to add some measures or calculated columns. So let's kick off with that. So we're going to go and add in a calculate column here, new column, and we're going to call this one severity. We'll just make sure that the calculated column is added into this work order static data. So severity number is going to be equal to if not is blank. So basically what that does, it's a little bit of a head twister. If not is blank, so it's essentially saying if the, I'll put in the number here, or the field work order static data and its severity. Severity, yeah. So what we're saying is if the severity doesn't have a, if not is blank, so if it's got a value, then what we want to do in the if statement is we want to extract the right hand. We want to extract, so say it's A1, we want to extract that 1. So what we're going to do is we're going to extract the text from the severity, and the text we're going to get is they're going to get the first character from the right. This is what this one does. That's what this function does. So if the work order severity has got a code, then we want to go, and that code is currently got two numbers in it, or two a character, and it's an alphanumeric. It's an alpha and a character, so it's the severity, the consequence, and the severity. And if we do have that, then we want to extract this number here. If we don't have it, then we don't want to do anything. We just want to leave it blank. And that is the default position for the false statement in an if statement. So we don't need to put anything in false. You can see it's in square brackets there, so it'll just default to be null or nothing. Just typically won't return a value. So now we've got the severity number. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to then join the severity and the likelihood. So to do that, we're going to create another calculated column. And we probably could do this all in one measure, or in one calculated column actually, but I'll just show you how we break it down into two. And the next one is going to be called severity likelihood, and this is going to be the coordinates we're going to use. So we're going to concatenate the severity number that we've just created. That's going to give us the severity up the left hand side, so the kind of y-axis of the matrix, if you want, and we're going to join that with the likelihood, which is already there. And that is going to be, hopefully, the second one. So let's just take a quick check in here and make sure everything looks okay. Yep, there's numbers in here for everything, and that's going to be our coordinates we're going to use. Right, so the next thing we need to do is we need to create a new measure. So let's go back into our report, and we're going to create this matrix. And I'm just going to add in a new measure here. So we need a measure that just counts the number of work orders. So when we look at the measures we've currently got, we are only looking at, if I just minimize these, we're only looking at the count of backlog, but we need a count of all work orders. So we're going to create it in the work order variables, and this is going to count that number of work orders, like I said. So new measure, it's a really straightforward measure. Once it appears, here we go, work order, we'll call this count, equals count, work order key. And it's a work order key from the variable table that we need. There we go. Okay, so that's just a count of work order. And we're going to use that in our next. So we've got backlog count latest extract date. So we need a work order count latest extract date. So I'm going to go in here and I'm going to copy this. And I'm going to create a new measure. And we're going to call it work order count latest extract date. And in here, rather than count the work orders that are in backlog, we're going to count the calculate statement that's going to be applied to the table that we filter, which is all the work orders at the latest date. In fact, I'll just talk you through that in a second. Work order count. So this calculate statement is, or this measure here, what we do is we find the latest date in the work order data extract table. So if you, just as a reminder, the work order variables data table has got a snapshot of all of the work orders every day. And this table will become quite big, and that is to allow us to travel backwards in time almost, and start to count the number of work orders at a particular status, or the number of planned hours against a work order, or anything that we can. It gives us a change history for the work order, and is really, really useful for building trends over time. So, but for this example here, we just need the latest information. So we're going to go and find the latest date, latest extract date and we're going to go and count the number of work orders and where the latest extract date is the filter we're adding there. We do add a 0 into here, and that just, if we use this in a card, it just protects us from seeing this blank value showing up. Okay. So I think that's the additional measures we need. So let's just add in a matrix, and I'll just show you what we're going to do in the next section here. So we're going to go and we need to add in the work order count. Work order count latest date extract. So we'll add that in there. And we can see that is how many work orders we've got. 3,911. And we're going to go and add in a severity number, and that's going to be the rows, and we're going to add in the likelihood as the columns. So this is oh yeah, likelihood. So just make sure that it doesn't count. Show as hold on, I've got it drawn on likelihood, severity. What's happened here? Severity, likelihood, severity number. Actually, it's not the severity likelihood, it is just the likelihood. Likelihood. There we go. Right, so basically what we've got is we've got these work orders here that don't have a severity and likelihood. They'll be all the PMs, and these work orders here are all the corrective work orders that have got a severity and a likelihood. So this is what we're going to emulate, but we're going to put it on a matrix. It looks really nice and a bit more visual. Okay, so the next stage is to go and actually start to build a matrix that we can use as a visual. So let's go back to our PowerPoint presentation, and I've already created this. So this is a table that I've created in PowerPoint, just to quickly take you through this. A 5x5 table. I've set the layout for each cell. If you go to table design, where is it? So we've done the height. Oh yeah, here's the arrow. So each cell is 2.5 centimeters by 2.5 centimeters. There'll be a link underneath the video here that will explain how you can go and you can download this. And I've added a color. So these are the color codes I've used, and that color codes there are used to go and actually determine the different risk groupings. You could take the whole thing. I'm just going to actually take the matrix. I think once you've used this a few times and looked at it a few times on the actual dashboard, the people that will be looking at this will understand that this is the consequence severity and this is a likelihood. But you could actually just paste in this whole image here. But to export the image, what you do is you select what you want to export. Another key point here is if you're building your own one is to make sure these lines are fairly distinct, and you'll see why when we start to actually use the visualization tool or the website that accompanies this visualization. You can use the auto wizard to actually mark up these areas, but it needs a kind of clear boundary. So that's why I've used these white lines here, and that's just done by changing the border width and size of the table. So you right click on here and you can save as a picture. You can see I've done a few tries at this, and I've saved this as risk matrix number 1. Okay, so I don't need to do it again. It's done, but that will save just this area that you've selected. If you select all of this, it will save everything that you've selected here as a picture, so JPEG or that type of file type. Okay, so that is how we create our risk matrix, and we've exported that. The next stage now is to go to this website here, Synoptic Design. Synoptic Design is the website you need to go to. I'll actually add that into the presentation here, just to make sure we've got it in there. and I can go back to that later. But we go to that synoptic design, and we need to start by importing the image. So we're going to go in and we're going to import this risk matrix number 3. This matrix number 3 that I've exported, but whatever one you've exported, you can go and import into here. We will make this slightly smaller. Well, we didn't really need to. Right, okay, so a few options at the bottom here. One is to draw a new area, so you can manually draw in areas that you want to allocate a number to. So we're going to allocate a number to an area, and that number is going to be the coordinates that we've created in our data model. So we'll take perhaps take a little bit of time to get your head around this, look at it, and just follow me for just now. It will all start to make sense. This here is an arrow. I don't know what that does really. This one here moves it about. But this is the one we want to use, this wizard. So this bit here, automatically discover bitmaps. Oh, well, there we go. So this is great. So because we've got a distinct area here, what this will do is it will suggest an area that it thinks you are trying to highlight. And here we go. So rather than putting the individual coordinates of every point, and that's what you can do. So you've got 4 coordinates for that point, 4 coordinates for that point, and you can be quite accurate if you want to, if you wanted to do that. But it is a little bit awkward, a little bit tricky. And then the other great thing it does here is, so that coordinate is 5, 1. So I type in 5, 1 there, and I go here and it starts to count up, which is fantastic. 5, 2, 5, 3, 5, 4, 5, 5. So I'm just going to go through and I'm going to do that for here. So I just need to change the first one to 4, 1, 4, 2, 4, 3, 4, 4, 4, 5. So I'll pause the video and then I'll add the rest of these in because I think you get the idea. Okay, so I've now gone and added all of these in. So you can see here we've got the risk matrix and we've got the different coordinates that we're going to use as an input into this to allow us to count the number of work orders in each one of these areas. So the next thing we do is we just follow the instructions on here, but if we export this to Power BI, and it just asks you here, fantastic work, right click and save as image. And again we can see there's a few I've done here. Let's just call this one risk matrix V. In fact, actually, risk matrix V6. Now we do need to make sure we save it as this SVG document type. Okay, so that's an SVG, and we are now ready to start to import that into our Power BI visualization. Okay, so we're back on the Power BI report here, and we're going to go and import a new visual from the App Store. And we're going to search for Syno, and this is the one we need, Synoptic Pane by OKViz. So we add that in, and then we will add this into here, and then we can start to build it. So the first thing we need to do is, there's quite a few different fields here. We won't cover them all in this video here, but we'll cover quite a few of them. So the first thing we're going to do is the category. So the category is the severity of likelihood. So that's the number of the coordinates that we created. And then we have got the next one is going to be the work order count. Work order count measure for the latest extract, work order count latest extract, and it's going to go into the measures field. And then once you've done that, it's now changed to offer up a couple of examples here. So you can import from the gallery, which is a defined gallery that's been published on the website, or you can use your local map. So we're going to use our local map, and we are going to go and find this matrix. Now we need to get this one here, which is this. We don't want the actual source file, we want the file that was exported. And we exported, I think it was this one here, was it? Ah, no. Let's go and change that. So we're going to change it to version 3. That was the one we needed. Okay, so it doesn't look like much has happened here. So let's go in and we need to do a little bit of formatting. So let's select this again. And let's go into the formatting pane. So there's a couple of options here. I'm going to talk you through a few different options on how you might want to display this. But the first one is really just to go in and we need to make sure that we display, if we go to data labels, and we need to display, rather than a column, we need to display the data value. Okay, so that value is really small just now, so let's display it in the middle, and let's then go down here and make it slightly bigger. So make it. Okay, so now we can see that value there is the count of the number of work orders which have a severity likelihood number of 51. This is a count of the number of work orders which have, so 23 work orders have got a severity likelihood of 41. So you can see how we're mapping the number of work orders related to each of these quadrants, or not really quadrants, areas, using this severity likelihood category. And that's going to show us how many work orders we've got in each one of these zones. However, it's not finished yet because there's a few formatting issues we've got to overcome here. So I'm going to make it slightly smaller because there's two options I'd like to talk you through. So option 1 is probably the quickest option, and it will allow you to go in and have a subtle background colour. So if we go in here, and the first thing we need to do under general is unmatched areas. We're going to leave them on. Then we're going to go to data color, and we're going to say that the unmatched default color is going to be white. So these are areas that don't have any work orders on them at the moment. And then the default color, now I'd like the default color to be transparent, but there's no option to format that. So what we need to do is make it white. Right, so what we can see here, and we'll just make the actual values themselves slightly bigger. If we go to the labels, I think we did put it at 20, but let's make it 30. Yeah. So we can see here there's a subtle background color here, and part of me thinks that's quite, it's okay. It's not too bad at all. If you click on one of these, it does actually then take away the colour because you put a filter on it. But with everything selected, it seems to just overlay this colour here. So that's option 1. Option 2 is the option that we're going to kind of go with, and that needs us to copy this, and I'm going to just stick that down there for just now. And what we're going to do is we're going to go and make a couple of formatting changes. So the first one is unmatched areas. We want to turn that off, and then we can see the underlying colour there. If you were to turn off the unmatched areas here, there would be a different. You would see that underlying colours here, but the rest of it would be like this. It would be exactly like that, and it would not look particularly great. And then the next thing we're going to do here is go to data colours, and we've got an option here to show all. So if we open this up, and each colour or each category has got a colour, so that allows us to go and allocate a colour from the matrix to each one of these squares here. So let me just show you an example here. So if we go to the 1, 1, which is this one here, 1, and we would make this one green. Okay, so we have now got the green colour there. So let's go back into this this colour. Now it's not exactly the exact green colour we need. So what I've done is I've gone in and I've got these colours here. So let's go and copy this one, and let's go back to here and go back into format again. And go to colors, data colors, and if we go in here and just pull this down a little bit, custom color, and then we'll paste that in. We can see that's colored that green. And 2 so if we're going to 2, so these are the green ones here, so that's still going to be green. So 2 along, 2 up, it's going to be there. And then we just continue to allocate the colours. So 1, 5 is going to be 1 up, 5 along is going to be green. In fact, all of the ones would be green. So we can add these in. So you get the idea. We'll go and we'll add in each one of these, and we allocate the colour, which is the matrix, to each of these cells here. Okay, so I've went and I've allocated a colour to each one of these. Now one of the drawbacks for this approach is that we don't currently have any work orders in the dataset. They've got a 5, 5, a 4, 4, or a 5, 3, 5, 3, this one here. So we can't allocate, it's only allowing us to allocate colours to categories that we've got values for. So when you do create this with your own data set, just make sure that you've got a work order in each one of these, even if it's just initially to create some dummy data to allow you to display this category and then allocate a colour, and it will stick with it once you've allocated that colour. Okay, so we're going to get rid of this option 1. So you can see the 2 options here. One's slightly is subtle. You can still see a differentiation between the different zones. This one is a little bit more obvious, but I'll leave it up to you to decide. I'm not 100% sure which one's best. I do like this one for the subtlety, but this one is really quite clear. So I'm going to go with this one for just now. So we'll delete this. Now if you do move that, you press this button here and it recenters it. I meant to move this. So let's move that across there. Let's resize it slightly. And that is our matrix. So the next thing we need to do is just verify that each one of these, there's a couple of sort of bits and pieces we need to tidy up with this. So the first one is we're going to change this this to a table. So let's make this a bit smaller, it doesn't need to be that big. And this is going to be a table of results. So in this table we want the work order key, and we're going to take that work order key from this table here. Now we don't want to count the work order key, we want do not sum. Get rid of the severity, get rid of this, get rid of that. Right, so this is a list of work orders here. We will add a few extra fields here. Description, so we'll get the work order description. We'll add in the work type. And we'll add in the department. Or lead. Let's add the lead craft in. Lead craft. So you can add it in by purely into the field, into the table, or just in here. And then we will add the planned hours. We're going to use this planned hours measure. So add that in. So that's just going to give us a little bit of information related to this work order. That looks as if it's defaulted to a kind of fairly dark color, a fairly light color. So let's go and change the font color. That's slightly darker. We'll do it for the alternative as well. And we could do the headers and stuff, but just leave them for just now. And that's going to be our table of results here, so we can make that slightly bigger. And let's go and click on one of these. So we can see it's brought back one work order there. Now that one's brought back 6 work orders. This one has brought back, looks like it's going to be the 20. Let's try one here we can count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, 11. Right, okay, so we can see it's actually brought back more than 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So why has it brought back 15 work orders? So, well, first of all, let's go and just check what we've got here. So in here, we have got the work order latest count, that's right. So let's just make sure we've got in here planned hours. Jeepers, there's a lot of planned hours there. Okay, so I've had to go and do a little bit of investigation here. So what I've done is I've deleted this table and I've added it again, and this time I've added in the work order, the severity. I've added the work order in from, just click on here, from the work order static data table, and then the likelihood, severity, just to make sure that that is getting picked up. And I've added in here this extra filter, because we need to make sure the measure here that calculates the work order count is already only looking at the work orders for the most recent date. However, we need to make sure that this is also displaying only the work orders from the most recent date. So in here, I've added in a filter on this visual, data extract, date, and then added it in for the top N, top 1, and by value latest data extract. So now we've got the information we need there. So let's just add a few other ones in here. Description, work order description, we'll add that in. And we can add in the department. Let's add that into there, add that into there. So it just provides us with a little bit more detail, and you see the planned hours have actually sort of sorted themselves out as well. Right, okay, we could update the other bits and pieces here and make us look a bit nicer, but the fundamentals are there. We've got a table here, we've got a risk matrix here, which has got all the work orders that fall into each one of these different categories here. And then as we click on that risk matrix, we see the list of work orders. It's just annoying me, so I'm going to go and just change this values here to make them slightly darker. So as we click on each one of these, we see the related work orders. So we can go in and we can get that information. We can remove the extract date from this this list as well, but I think we need that. So there's a bit of space there. Now, one final thing I'd like to do is add in a slicer, because this is showing all of the work orders, but we only need to see the work orders that are in backlog, So first of all, let's add that into the field, and we'll change this to a list, and we'll change this to horizontal list. Now this is just clicking, and we want to select a single value as off, and we want to select all values to be there, and we want the responsive to be off, but we'll put responsive on. Why is that not playing ball? Let's see what's happened here. Okay, so we're going to, is in backlog. This can be, we'll tidy this up in a second. Normally these just are displayed horizontally if you use horizontal, but it's got a 1 or a 2. So we've got select all, we've got a 1, so that is in backlog, and that'll filter everything for the backlog, and that is not in backlog. So what we want to do is we want to change this so that it's a yes or a no. So to do that, we're going to add in a new calculated column, fairly simple calculated column, and it's going to be in the work order variable table. New column. It is in backlog equals if is in backlog, yes or no. Is in backlog 1, then yes, otherwise it's no. So if the value is in backlog is 1, then it is the true result is yes, otherwise it's no. For some reason it is not liking that. What's going on here? Let's try and see. Equals 1. Okay, so if it equals 1, then yes, otherwise no. So this will let us toggle between our backlog, and now we can replace this value here and in the filter with a yes or a no. And this should allow us to then go and filter if it's in backlog, if it's all work, or if it's not in backlog. And for just now, let's just use a drop down, and we'll place this under here. So this allows us to then assess, okay, of the work that's outstanding, is it in backlog? Yes. So this is now only looking at our backlog work, and then we can go and look at the list of backlog work. If it's not in backlog, we can select no, and this is all the work that's not in our backlog. And if we want to select all, click on here, and it's for some reason not updating this value here. It's showing 6 here, but it's not showing 6 there for some reason. But okay, so that's working now. Oddly enough, all I did was, it seemed that this visual froze up. All I did was change to another tab and change back again, and that seems to be working now. Okay, so we'll select all, reduce that, and there we have it. We've got our matrix visualization, and we've got the list of work orders at the other side of the visualization. Now, I would definitely tidy up this, add a header, add maybe a few cards, just like the other examples, and I'll go ahead and do that in the final version of this. But for just now, hopefully you found this video useful. Hopefully you've seen the possibilities of using this particular custom visual, the synoptic visualization. And if you like this video, give it a big thumbs up. And if you found it useful, and if you want to see more, subscribe and click the bell, and you will be kept up to date with the latest videos, and it will include these longer projects and case studies. Okay, thanks very, very much for listening. Thanks for sticking with us until the end of the video, and I will talk to you in another video.